Good afternoon, everybody. Good evening now. With our time change and everything, it gets darker a whole lot faster. So I feel like it's purely totally nighttime at this point. But I've got a really fun interview for you today with three of my favorite, some of my favorite really GMP travelers, and they're wonderful brothers. And we're going to talk a little bit about this. The Kirby boys, and they've been active with us. Really since early on, since the very beginning, and we'll talk about that a little bit too. So I'm going to bring the Kirby boys on right now. Hello, boys. How you doing?
Hey, Cam.
Good to see you. And this is they'll be identifying themselves if you don't know them, and I'm sure that some of you who are watching may not know all of them. But this is Dave and Steve and Dennis Kirby, and wave, Steve. There you go. Okay, now you know which one Steve is, and good.
He's the one with the drum calluses.
And by the way, I think on every one of our interviews, Jose Muniz, who is in China, has been with us, and Jose is a teacher, music teacher, band director in China, and also one of our mission partners. Well, anyway, guys, it is good to see you today, and you have been with us for a bit. Let's just go back a little bit on your just personal history a little. Tell me where you're from originally, Dave.
It's two of us of the three of us were born in Tallahassee. We moved to Daytona Beach in 1961 and grew up there. Dennis was born there also. And I moved to Troy in 1973 to be in the Sound of the South band, and met a girl and got married and stayed put.
Well, and just to be real clear with any of our people who are not quite as geographically in tune, Tallahassee and Daytona are in Florida, and I think most people would probably know that.
Yes.
But you said Troy, and that's Troy, Alabama, right?
Yes, that is exactly right, in the southeastern corner.
Yeah, I got you. And Steve, do you have any unique recollections of growing up in the Daytona area?
Yes, a lot of surfing when I was a kid, and music took over my life in junior high, and it's been pretty much my passion, my love ever since. And
Dennis, Dennis, are you the baby?
I'm the youngest, yes. Yeah, I'm following in the footsteps of Dave and Steve and our sister Susan, and joined band as well in junior high school. And even though I participated in some weekend warrior kind of sports and other activities, music has really been it since then.
And just to point out, let y'all point out, Dennis, your primary instrument is
the trombone, and I also play bass trombone when needed.
Gotcha. And Dave, how about you?
Trumpet.
Trumpet. And now Steve's a little more varied for the rest of us. Steve, you're actually still learning some new things. But what were your original instruments of choice?
Well, I was a percussion major in college, but also played electric bass and drum set professionally.
I gotcha. And now I believe you've challenged yourself with a few things while you're and being a church orchestra director. I know you've tried to play some trombone. I believe you've done it fairly successfully.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, Dennis is giving us this, but
Oko.
I also play a little harp.
Right.
So,
that he does.
Yeah, it's about this big. Very little harp.
It's Celtic, so it's okay.
Well, probably a leprechaun harp. And, I understand. Well, anyway,
looking for
so anyway, you pretty well identified, which we all know as far as Global Missions Project is concerned, and that is that you're musicians, and that you started playing back in early school days, whenever your particular programs were starting, musicians and everything. And but things have grown in your lives in terms of other things that you have are doing now, and I'd like for you to illuminate our folks about that. Dennis, tell us what you're doing for your vocation right now.
Well, for the past 23 years, I put off going to college seriously for many, many years. I went back to school full time to go to Troy State, which is now Troy University. And upon graduation, I got the opportunity to interview for a assistant band director job in the big city of Hazelhurst, Georgia, which is like Troy, Alabama, in the very southeastern part of Georgia. And I've been the one of the band directors since then. Right now, I teach elementary school music, 3rd and 4th grade, and I do the 5th grade beginner band, as well as lead worship at Oakland Baptist Church.
Okay, so you are in music ministry as well.
Yes.
And that's excellent. And so, Steve, what have you done in terms of your? I know your calling, I guess, in your life is what I'm asking about.
Yes. Well, in '81, I became the part-time instrumental director at First Baptist Church Daytona. Met you 3 weeks afterwards, by the way. Went up to Jacksonville, got a vision of what a church orchestra could be, and started to implement that at First Daytona. Went on full-time at Eastside Baptist Church in Marietta, Georgia in 1987. And in 1992, God called Bonnie and me, our family, down to Tampa, Florida. I've been at Idlewild Baptist Church as the minister of instrumental music there since May of 1992.
And how many years is that?
It's a lot of years.
Yeah.
I think I'm at 28 years.
Wow. That's incredible. Of course, that's an incredible tenure on a particular church staff for anyone these days. I don't know what the statistic is, but I remember when the statistic for the average minister of music at a church was 18 months. And so that's very, very unique and very, very significant for sure. Dave, tell me where your life has taken some turns.
Well, I finished a degree in music education, certified in instrumental and choral. Then I started working at a radio station while I was finishing up a master's degree and in musical theater. And I still work part-time at that same radio station. But in the meantime, I've also taught at Troy University for the last 14 years in radio journalism. I was a Methodist pastor bivocationally for 29 years. And I've always directed choirs at all the churches where I've ever attended, except for the one where I attend now at First Baptist Church in Troy. I sing in the choir and sometimes play trumpet in the orchestra. And I also have been working with jazz bands in the area. I play with the Moonlighters, which is a community big band in Dothan, for about 5 years. And I've been helping with the jazz band at Troy University for about the last 13 years, or playing in the trumpet section, or both. And so I get to play a lot, and it's a great joy. And of course, getting to travel with you with the Metro Big Band to all kinds of places.
And I'm thankful for that, for all three of you that you've been active with us. Dave, sounds like you're a little more of a Renaissance man, just kind of doing a kind of a shotgun of all kinds of things, but all effective. Of course, I've known all three of you for quite a number of years there. Now, Steve, I've actually known you the longest because I did meet you in Daytona when you were there serving when we first met, and probably when you came up to Jacksonville to kind of check out our program up there. And Steve, I believe you were on our very, very first Metro Big Band project. Is that correct?
I was GMP 002 to Finland. And it really just launched something in my heart that started to give me a worldview, a Christ worldview. And from that, we've gone to many, many places. I've done multiple trips with GMP and then other trips with our church as well.
And and of course, you were the one, of course, that I'm sure that introduced Dave and Dennis to us, to GMP as well.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
And we love the fact that our tribe, our GMP tribe, grows primarily by word of mouth, people sharing. You were going to say something, Dave?
That the first trip to Cuba, Steve told me at Christmas that this outfit he'd traveled with to Finland the summer before was taking a group to Cuba. And I made an offhand comment about, well, if you need another trumpet player, let me know, knowing that at Idlewild, they probably were pretty much covered. And lo and behold, when he called me for my birthday in January, he said, hey, if you still are interested, we might have room for you. And so I prayed about it and called him back and said, love to go. And my wife said, you've always wanted to go on international missions and you have no appreciable medical skills despite your nickname. and no appreciable carpentry skills at all, you better take this. This is the only thing you can do. And so we called our parents and told them, and Dad said, hey, you've got another brother who's a musician too. So that's how all three of us ended up on that trip together.
And I can honestly say that all three of you have been recruiters for GMP as well, encouraging some of your friends to travel with us. Now, Dennis, when was your first project with GMP?
Well, that was the one when we went to Havana in March 2004. And since then, I've been on about 15 trips. And it's just really been an amazing journey that God has allowed myself and, countless others to do this. And thanks to Steve begging you, hey, let Denny come along to go to Cuba. And you said, well, okay. So, but that was an amazing trip. We went to Havana, and it truly, really helped me to understand my role as a Christian and as a Christian musician, what I'm supposed to be doing, and that's to share the gospel through the music, no matter where I am. And that was a phenomenal trip. And, we all came back with months of sermons from that trip.
Yes. Never had to buy another sermon illustration book for the rest of my career as a preacher.
Well, isn't that the truth? I mean, I know I know you're saying it a little bit in jest, but I think you mean it too. That it's,
Yeah.
I mean, the stories that all of us have collected and well, frankly, just been a part of, and been able to be in the presence of God working, and that's what our projects are all about. I tell people all the time. I try to emphasize when I meet someone new. They said, well, where are you taking trips to next time? Whatever. And I always want to make sure that I emphasize the fact that we are not a tour agency. Right. We're a missions agency. We're a missions organization. And that's our heartbeat. And I'm guessing that all three of you would be testimonies to that. Yes. Everything that we do is geared towards mission, sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ, yes, and encouraging the church. Right. And everything that goes along with that.
I'll never forget on that first trip that we took together with you to Havana, you told us that the minute that we stepped on the field in junior high school with our instruments was the time that God began preparing us to be there with you for this trip. And that was such a powerful thing that I know the three of us have talked about it amongst ourselves before. And that really does give you an understanding of the incredible reach of God and the fact that he is doing work in us long before we're ever even aware that we're being worked on, and that he is preparing us for more amazing things than we ever could have imagined that we would get to do on his behalf.
I call that God connecting the dots, and it really is totally unexplainable. We can write many things off and call it coincidence, but there is no such thing. Definitely not in the life of a believer, and I don't believe in anybody's life, but in the life of a believer, there is nothing coincidental. God is structuring it all. My testimony of my entire life has been that. I'm sure all of you would say that as well. Mm-hmm. Now, Steve, what did just out of curiosity, and by the way, you mentioned being in Finland on that first Metro Big Band trip. That was my second mission project ever, and so I was the so-called at least team leader, music leader, whatever, for that. And boy, I'm telling you, that was my second mission trip. I was learning like crazy, trying to learn fast about how all that came together. And but it was so good to be with my friend Kai, who I had met. He was our host over there in Finland. That I had met him back in 1991, and we had this continued relationship. Building and growing, and he wanted to host us, and I'm thankful. Anything unique that you remember out of that trip, Steve?
Well, yeah, we were all learning. We were watching you, and we were watching Kai as he was. I think it's just incredibly important to have the connection with the people that you're going to be working with there, just like we did in Cuba with Roy and Dircy Cooper. We had that with Kai Pekkanen, and any place that we've traveled with GMP, there's been a connect. It's not like you say that you just do a trip and you show up and check into a hotel, and everything is planned out on that side. Places that we'll minister to, places that we'll go. I mean, I've been to Cuba more with GMP than I have any other place. I've been to, Australia, Malaysia, to Guatemala, good to Greece, to Jordan. But Cuba has been the place I've gone back to the most. And there's just something about the people there in the midst of all the adversity, having joy. And it's just a blessing to be there. One of my most favorite times was the very first trip, and we were in this beautiful auditorium playing 100th anniversary with the national band of Cuba.
Right.
And we're at the end of the concert, and the director Moises says, "We're going to play How Great Thou Art." And we all kind of gasped and thought, here we are in communist Cuba. What are they going to say? I was playing a song from the hymnal. And we started to play the song, and then the people started to sing.
Yeah.
And they sang. And they sang. I'm still getting goosebumps even as I'm saying it right now, 16 years later.
Yeah.
And then the next day, going out into Plaza de Armas and doing the same thing and doing the song "Shout to the Lord," which of course in 2004 was extremely popular, and having the goosebumps all over again when the people all around us, with the military standing there, with all the government officials watching over us, not being able to stop the power of God and the Spirit of God moving in that place.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah, the children down there are taught every day in school in Cuba that there is no God. I mean, the only God that they're being taught about is the government, because the government's going to provide everything for you.
Yeah.
And to be able to come in and deliver the message that God has for every single person on the earth, if they're listening, is so much more powerful than that. I remember that very specifically too, the How Great Thou Art event on that, because if you recall, the people, because there were government officials like crazy in there in that concert. It was a celebration of their heritage, their music, and their group, their musicians. And my recollection is that the people initially just began to start to kind of hum. It was just kind of a background thing, and then they began to feel the freedom, regardless of who was there. And it was really, really a powerful moment. Dave, any specific? I know that all three of us have a number of stories, but any specific story that?
By the way, I have 10,000 pictures, and if you got a couple hours, I can start going through.
He does too.
We've all seen them.
In one night.
Yes, that's right. I would say that one of the things that continues to amaze me is the privilege of growing up in the Cold War, as all of us did, and getting the opportunity to go behind what used to be the Iron Curtain and go to these countries like Hungary and Serbia and Poland and Russia, and to meet Christians who were there, and discover that all while both of our countries were pointing missiles at each other, they were praying that they would be safe, and we were too. And now we're getting to worship together, and that's pretty extraordinary. And I remember our friends in Volgograd, that when we go, it's not like a Billy Graham revival or anything, for the folks that haven't been on these trips with us. And it's very subtle in some places, that we are even Christians. And the translators there were 5 translators. 4 of them were college students. They were not identifying as Christians. And a year or so later, after keeping in touch with them, one of them wrote back to us and said, "We know why you guys came. You came to save us." And that has stuck with me. And of course, we didn't do the saving. The Holy Spirit did the saving, but we were privileged to be used by the Spirit to do that and to touch them, their lives. And that's an extraordinary thing.
Russia is one of the countries that's a more closed culture to the presentation of the gospel, especially where we were in the circumstances. But our mission partner there had established relationships where he made it possible for us to get into virtually all of our venues were public venues, not church venues. And so there were limitations to what we could actually say from the stage. But on a one-to-one basis, we could answer questions, any question that was asked of us. And I think we did six different projects there in Volgograd. Dennis, how about you? Any kind of specific story for you that stands out to you?
Well, I mean, like all of us, we've got these incredible stories from different countries, and different instances in the same country, but the one that just really still will stick with me for the rest of my life was the Havana trip in 2004. And I'm with the trombone section and just really fellowship with them and had a great time. You would say, okay, everybody take a water break, go eat some fruit, and we passed out trombone quintets and played. And we had a great time. But one of the guys, his nickname was Pepe, and he was an older gentleman. I want to say Pepe was 72, I think, at the time, and I was in my late 40s. And if I remember correctly, Camp, and please correct me if I'm wrong, it was a last minute kind of thing for us to be able to take those English Spanish translation Bibles with us.
Right.
And you gave one to all of us and said, now look, during the week, make sure you make a connection with somebody and give one to them, just do that. Okay. So I gave mine to Pepe, and I think it was on a Tuesday. And he, through a translator, he said, well, what is it for? And I said, just read it. Just read it. And it's Spanish and English. It'll help translate. And through the translator, they said, he said, oh, it will help me to understand English. Yes, it will. So he did that. And then Thursday, the afternoon, well, actually right before the big concert, the Centennial concert, Pepe comes up to me and he's just frantic. And through the translator is saying, I must speak to you. I must speak to you. And we were 2 minutes away from the concert beginning. And we said, just wait until after the concert. So we played the concert. Everything was awesome. And afterwards, we were backstage and Pepe comes over. He said, I must talk to you. And I said, okay. And he said, you gave me the Bible the other day. And I said, yes. And he said, and that was a gift. I said, yes, it was. And he said, I read it yesterday with my wife. And I said, oh, wonderful. Did you, were you able to follow it, learning how to do English? And he said, now I understand why you gave me that book, and I will cherish it for the rest of my life.
Amen. And it doesn't come any better than that. That is truly what it's all about in terms of our sharing. Well, guys, I am so thankful that you were with me here today. We just have like one or 2 minutes left. Do you have any words of wisdom or encouragement for any of our people who are either following us right now or who will see this video later? Steve, anything?
Well, it's an amazing opportunity to be able to use the gifts, the talents that God has given us on the mission field, sharing Christ. And the music is that international language. That's a cliche, but it's really true. That there's no language barrier between instrumentalists, and there's an instant connection wherever you go. I still think about all our friends from Cuba that we were able to minister with and to, and the opportunity to be able to share Christ in a rehearsal and share my testimony and see 17 people stand up unashamedly saying they had just prayed to receive Christ. Wow. There's not much thing better in the world than that.
I love that. Dennis, any words for our GMP folks?
Yeah, the one thing that really I'd like to mention is I've been in a little bitty town in Southeast Georgia for 23 years. And even though we live in a county that might have 13,000 people in the entire county, I've been able, thanks to the Lord and the message through GMP, to invite several, almost 10 people from me being in my little bitty town, including my wife, Shirley, who's been on several trips with me, to travel and to spread the gospel. And I just want to encourage any of you that are listening, watching, that it doesn't matter the size of your town. You don't have to be from a huge church like Steve's been blessed to be part of, or like Dave being in Alabama. Wherever you are, our calling is to spread the gospel and tell folks about the unique and incredible opportunity to travel to these countries. And like Dave said, you don't have to be a carpenter or an electrician or a doctor. Just love your music, love the Lord, and be willing to go.
Amen. Dave, how about you? Final words.
I remember going to Santiago de Cuba the first time, and we did an expo there, and there was a tiny crowd. And many of the pastors in the area were very conservative and didn't like the idea of drums and trumpets and stuff in their churches. We went back several years later. There were over 100 people there, and many of them had become Christians and then become Christian, done Christian outreach among their own students, their musical students and so forth. And they were so excited that we came back and that they could bring all of their young students who are Christians now to play with us. And
I love it.
And Camp, if I could add, what we've seen in the last 16 years just in Cuba, the opportunity to be able to go back to the same place year after year, use the same connections that we have there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a culture in the church today that was not there 16 years ago.
Right.
Instrumental music has blossomed. All of those students that we taught, all of those students that have been growing, there's not much for them to do except use their instruments.
Yeah.
And there are orchestras in churches that are bigger than the church. And God is really using it. Used GMP and all of the other trips that have gone to Cuba, who have ministered with those people and to those people. It's an amazing opportunity to see the cultural change in the church of an entire country.
Amen. Amen.
we've seen that same thing in Scotland too. So
Yeah, true. Yeah, true. To all of our GMP listeners today and everything, let me just say that all three of the brothers here have traveled with us with multiple groups, but uniquely with Metro Big Band, which is our GMP jazz band.
right.
And we're going to have a live streamed Metro Big Band concert on Friday, November the 20th. Friday, November the 20th. Dennis is showing
Wrong
off.
side, Dennis. Wrong side. Your other
There we
left. Your other left. There you go.
So that's going on Friday, November the 20th. It's going to be live streamed at 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern. And we invite all of you to tune in on the Global Missions Project YouTube channel or on the Global Missions Project Facebook page. We're pretty confident. I know it's going to be on the YouTube channel, and we think it's going to be on the Facebook page as well.
Okay.
And it's not going to be a long concert, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun for you. And just a multiplicity of our players from a variety of places are coming together to play this concert. And I think you'll really be blessed by hearing the music and seeing some of the testimony as well. And also, let me say this. Anyone who can be or will be in the Nashville area on November the 20th, the concert is free, and it's going to be at Judson Baptist Church in Nashville. And you can look up Judson, Judson, Judson Baptist Church in Nashville, and get the address and everything. And we'd love to see you come and be a part of it live. But if not, I think you'll really enjoy the live stream. Well, God bless you to everybody who is with us today. And we hope that these have been great words of encouragement for you to just hear from some of your brothers in Christ here, and to hear their encouragement to go with us on a project as soon as you can and be a part. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.